What is going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadskii, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. And today, we have some huge important news. The news about the super evolved form of Katakuri V2, and no one is more excited than I am for this information. We're going to get into that in just a moment, but we have some other miscellaneous information, you know, like a brand new Kizuna Clash Sugo-Fest. Everyone's excited about that. So we'll go through this information first. There are a couple of new characters we can talk about, as well as a brand new support banner, which is probably going to be where you want to be spending your gems, but we'll have to wait and see. Remember, the Film Red celebration is right around the corner, so you probably don't want to be spending too many rainbow gems from this point forward. But let's go ahead and have a look and see what we got going on. So the Kizuna Clash Sugo is starting on July 15th, which is not far away. We'll probably get the official announcement of it tomorrow. So here we go with the Kizuna Clash Sugo, the Straw Hat Pirates Summer Vacation. Do note that it is going to be a Super Boss Kizuna Clash. The Super Boss character is Monkey D. Luffy in his summer outfit from that color spread, and he super evolves. So it is confirmed to be a Super Boss alongside the support banner. You know, typically when they have a Kizuna and a support banner debut at the same time, it's a Super Boss. Let's go ahead and talk about the banner first. So as we said, it's going to be debuting on July 15th, and it seems to be a pretty typical Kizuna banner. Guaranteed new character on the 5th step, recommended on the 3rd. You know, pretty typical stuff, nothing really too out of the norm here. We do see in terms of the recommended units, we have the brand new Usopp, the Brook, Legend X Drake, Kaido crew, and V2 Katakuri for some reason is going to be boosted here as well. So it's kind of weird considering we have the Pie Rumble right now where you can get the character for free. So yeah, a bit of an odd choice. Zoro is here, and Orochi too. So a pretty interesting list. So if you get a red poster on a recommended character step, it's guaranteed to be one of these 3 characters. And then we've got, you know, in terms of the golds, you've got these 4 characters. So let's go ahead and talk about each of these new characters. Let's start off with Brook. I actually haven't read exactly what these characters do yet, so this is pretty fresh information here. So Brook is a Dex Free Spirit shooter. Interesting that he's a shooter character. Okay. Let's see his captain ability. 3x and 1.3, and boost damage dealt to defense down to enemies by 1.25. That is interesting. We haven't seen captain abilities utilize that. I've noticed that over the past couple of months. They've been introducing some weird mechanics in captain abilities that we haven't seen before. I mean, we saw it with Frankie, the treasure map unit. He had something like that. And now we've got this Brook that does it too. That is really, really bizarre. So, wait, let me pull up the calculator real quick. So if you have a character that has defense down, 3 times 1.25, he becomes a 3.75 captain. I mean, it's not good, but I mean, it could have, you know, some really, really weird inclinations in the future. Actually, I think Halloween Perona had a similar captain effect to this as well, now that I think about it. But let's see the special. 13 turn cooldown, sets all enemies' defense to 0 for 1 turn, makes the crew's recovery and tandem slots have matching slot effects for 1 turn, reduces the crew's special bind and despair by 6, and if there's 3 or more enemies when they're present when you launch the special, set the chain multiplier minimum to 3.0 and a max of 25.0. So it gives you a 3.0 chain boundary, defense down, recovery and tandem slots are matching, special bind and despair. He seems okay. The thing is the chain boundary effect, you only get it if there's 3 or more enemies. So it's going to be annoying in the Kizuna because that's probably going to be a thing where the bosses just have more than 1 enemy on the field. Makes it more annoying to actually kill. But if there is an int enemy or a dex enemy, it's going to be interesting because you could use something like Halloween, not Halloween Perona, but Mihawk and Perona to get their conditional boost in a fight. Will be interesting if you could apply certain effects like that. But I don't know how often this guy's going to see play. This is the utility of special bind and despair removal by 6 is actually pretty strong. I like that. The rest of it is kind of average though. Barrier penetration and pinch healing. Reduces special bind by 6, which is good. It makes strength slots matching for the crew. Support attaches to Luffy and Usopp, and if they use their special, boost against defense down enemies by 1.5. We have a lot of supports like this, but unfortunately a lot of them are not very useful. So I don't really think this character is like all that great. He seems fine. I think the utility, the 6-turn utility, is definitely the key thing here. The rest of it is just kind of okay. Brook seems fine. Nothing too crazy there. Let's have a look at Usopp though. So Usopp is going to be a Dex shooter free spirit, of course, and he's going to have a very, very similar sort of captain ability, except against delayed enemies instead. And then 12 turn cooldown reduces threshold by 6 and resilience by 6. Boost damage dealt against delayed enemies by 1.5. Changes type slots into matching, and if there's 3 or more enemies, you delay them, ignoring delay to status effects. Okay, makes sense. Yeah, so he's a guaranteed conditional booster if you've got 3 or more enemies on the field. I don't know, man. This is kind of weird. Weird and wacky these two units are. I don't really like them that much. I would personally not go out of my way to get these characters, and while yes, their utility abilities are going to be nice in the Kizuna clash, remember that these two units of Brook and Usopp are not going to be units that you're actually going to use in the super boss event itself. Typically you're going to be using these for the regular bosses. They give you more super boss tokens and stuff like that. That's always nice to see. I can understand why people would want to pull for them. Personally, I'm not going to be doing pulls on the Kizuna Clash Sugo-Fest because there's nothing here that I actually need. I have everything on the banner except for that Zoro rare recruit. I don't have him, and obviously the 2 new units would be cool to get, but I'm not really that enticed by it. But let's go ahead and have a look at the support banner. So in terms of the support units, you can see you got Daifuku, who's pretty good actually. Sengoku is okay, but there's only a very limited pool of characters you can actually attach him to, which is a bit of a shame. I think Ace is pretty solid. I haven't used him a lot, but he is solid. And we have the brand new VV. So this banner also going to be going live on July 15th. Now, we have a guaranteed support unit on the first multi, and the first multi is discounted at 30 rainbow gems. I think that's actually relatively decent. If you have 30 gems lying around and you're willing to spend them, I think 30 gems on a support banner to get at least one guaranteed support unit is not that bad at all, and there's lots of very powerful support characters. You got a recommended character on the second, which will be a 50 gem multi, but it guarantees you one of these 4 characters. Then a legend on the third. We don't know the legends that are available at this point in time, but just note that's going to be happening. But let's have a look at the brand new VV support. Let's see what she's all about. So VV is a Psy Free Spirit Cerebral. Now the actual effect of the unit itself doesn't matter. You're not using her in regular content. The most important thing is the support effect. So the support effect attaches to Luffy, Zoro, Nami, Usopp, Sanji, and Chopper. So it's going to be the Straw Hats that were at Alabasta, minus, you know, Miss All Sunday, Nico, Robin. She's not included here. But we have the level 5 effect, which reduces 2 turns of resilience, and then applies a minus 10% strength, quick, and dex resistance down to all enemies for 1 turn, and heals the crew by 3,000 also for 1 turn, or at the start of the final battle. This is a pretty interesting support effect, and it's kind of weird because, you know, when we had the support Sabo at the start of the year, like, that was peak. That support Sabo was so cracked, and then they had, like, Otoko, who was okay, and then we have, like, a unit like this, and I think this VV is fine. It basically gives you, you know, the ability to remove the 2 turns of threshold is going to be very, very key. But the resistance down effect, obviously it only works for strength, dex, and quick, but when you really think about it, it is essentially giving you a 10% damage bonus to any unit that is strength, dex, or quick. When you gotta think, that's actually pretty good at the end of the day. And the 3,000 healing, it's gonna help in some instances, but more often than not, the healing is kind of redundant. I really wish that they would have replaced the healing with another utility effect, but at the end of the day, would have made the support even more valuable, which means the content probably would have been more difficult. But overall, it's definitely a more weaker support than what we're kind of used to. I think that this character is good. I'm personally going to be pulling for this unit to make, you know, the actual event itself a lot easier to deal with. But I do think it's a relatively weaker support to what we're used to. And in my opinion, I'm not a big fan of the list of characters that are boosted here. I'm still missing characters like Support Mihawk and Mr. 3 and Miss Golden Week. Like, those 2 in particular, I really want to get my hands on. So I'm going to be doing pulls here. Hopefully we can pull some really cool support characters when it eventually comes out. But of course, we need to talk about the main man himself, Mr. Slam Jam Katakuri with his Super Evolution. And here we are, Katakuri with his Super Evolved form. I'm so excited to talk about this one. Here we have the main man, the Full Might Strike, Charlotte Katakuri. So my Katakuri is at level 150, he is ready to go, and he actually will be receiving a level limit break, and we'll be talking about most of these components along the way here. Now, what I think would be a really good idea is I do have another Katakuri that I did evolve just to show what the differences are between the 150 and the base level Katakuri that you will get just by generically evolving. So this is the regular Katakuri that you'll be coming to know. So Katakuri, he maintains his color and classes. A lot of people were predicting that maybe he was going to change color or classes. I thought he was going to do that, but they decided not to do that, which is interesting. But let's have a look. His captain ability will boost fighter, slasher, shooter, driven, and powerhouse characters' attack by 4x, boost the type effects of normal attacks by 1.2, and then makes strength, psi, recovery, and tandem slots have matching slot effects, and heal 50% of the damage that you received whenever you move on to a next stage. So a lot of components of the old Katakuri have maintained here, but there are a lot of differences. If you guys remember Katakuri before, we did make a video talking about Katakuri, but you see that before, you needed to have a character on your crew that had both of the classes on his list, because he provided a 1.825 multiplier, and if a character had both of those, then they'd be multiplied together, so it'd be a 3.3 multiplier. So it was actually pretty terrible, and team building with him was very, very difficult. So what they've done here is very similar to what they did with Legend Carrot, where, you know, the actual classes that Carrot boosts are the same, but now the character no longer needs to have both of them on the one character. The character can just have one of the classes and they're gonna, you know, receive the boost, which I think is a good change. It makes team building way more accessible for players out there. Now, as you can see, he does also boost color affinity, which means that, you know, if you have a character that attacks with type advantage, that character is going to have a 4.8 times multiplier. So that's the annoying thing about Katakuri V2 is that, yeah, you know, the multiplier isn't that good. If you attack with type advantage, he hits ridiculously hard, and it does work in reverse. So if you attack with type disadvantage, that affinity boost in his captain ability does work in reverse, so you do get less multiplier there as well. But another big benefit is you have a lot of matching slots. Strength, psi, recovery, and tandem is a lot. You're going to be getting lots of matching slots. He boosts a lot of classes. He seems reasonable, right? Now, he does have a big update to his special ability as well, where before, I mean, we can briefly just talk about it because it's such a stark difference, where it was just focused on receiving damage, and depending on how much damage you received, he would output a huge amount of damage and gives you a huge amount of tap timing bonus damage. Now, what they've done here is they've basically kept that. That's essentially the same. The multipliers are slightly different though, but then they've added even more stuff on top of it. So now he changes block slots. Let's go ahead and see. He changes block slots to matching, and then after one turn has passed, he boosts fighter, slasher, shooter driven powerhouse characters attack by 2.25 times for one turn. So that's insane that he does that on top of the damage that he already does. So block slots and a bit of damage. It is a bit weird though, because you can have the support of like Brûlé, for example, on this character, which can already get rid of block slots on the final stage. But still, this is good because you can use this on a stage prior, and you can get the attack boost here, and then you'll have the tap timing bonus effects where you do 50 times the amount of accumulated damage before the special is launched, and then he also has the tap timing bonus damage as well. So like that's essentially it. You know, it's not a lot of difference, but it's enough. It makes him a little bit more usable, and it means that, you know, it's probably going to be a lot easier to reach the max capacity, or you're going to get a lot more out of his tap timing bonus damage because of the multipliers being a lot higher. So I think overall, I think the changes are relatively decent. But I think I'm still a little bit disappointed because when you look at this base effect, it's not that good. But it does change a lot when we have a look at his level limit break, because he receives a couple of really interesting buffs. So now we're looking at the level limit break max level 5 effect of the character. So we can have a look here that at max level 120, you'll get the captain ability upgrade of boosting the attack of 4x for those classes. You get an HP boost of 1.25, which you cannot understate. For the character and the way that it's built, the 1.25 times health boost is a huge upgrade. And then also the color affinity, instead of being 1.2, it becomes 1.25, meaning that the attack multiplier when you attack with type advantage becomes a 5 times multiplier. So it's not like a crazy huge jump, but it's a 5 times multiplier at the end of the day, and the rest of it is still the same. Strength, psi, recovery, tandem matching, and heal 50% of the damage you took when you move into the next stage. So the captain ability itself doesn't really receive a lot of changes, and that's probably the biggest complaint that I personally have, is that the captain ability isn't amazing. However, there is another component about Katakuri that we need to talk about, and it's the fact that when you actually limit break expand Katakuri, his captain ability upgrades even further. So I have it up here on a notepad. I'll probably type it up on the video so you guys can see it. So what happens is he actually receives -1 cooldown at the start of the quest as well, and he will also make the color affinity, instead of 1.25, it now goes all the way up to 1.3, meaning if you attack with type advantage, it will be a 5.2 times multiplier. And he also makes int slots count as beneficial to your crew as well. So the only slots that are not beneficial naturally are going to be Dex and Quick. Which is kind of nuts. To have so many matching slots just naturally is pretty crazy. With the -1 cooldown to make, you know, farming a little bit quicker and stuff. So the captain ability with level limit break, with limit break plus, it is good. However, I think for the generic player out there, probably not really worth all of the investment just to get a captain ability like that. I think Kuzan V2, for example, his captain ability is way more desirable and stuff. But let's have a look at the special ability, because the special ability did actually get a little bit of a change. So first thing is first, you can see changes crew's block slots and type slots to character's own type. So that's a big change. Also changing type slots. So, you know, if you end up getting like Dex or Quick slots, you know, you can just go ahead and change them into matching, which is pretty good. And then after one turn has passed, boost fighter slasher shooter driven powerhouse character's attack by 2.5 for 2 turns. Previously, it would be 2.25, but for 1 turn, and now it says he gets this for 2 turns. So you can activate it on the stage prior. When you reach the final boss stage, boom, you get a 2.5 times attack boost for 2 turns. That's a pretty nice upgrade. Now, I believe the damage that he does with his special is also all the same, but there's another added effect at the end, where it says if your crew has normal attacks only, he makes easier to land perfects for 1 turn, and then boosts the attack of fighter slasher shooter driven powerhouse by 2.25 for 1 turn. So this is cool. It means that if you have normal attacks only, obviously the damage from his special is negated, but on activation, you get an attack boost, and you still get the clock effect of, you know, after 1 turn has passed, you get the attack boost. So this guy can be a multi-turn attack booster for 5 different classes, and he also does block and type slot manipulation. Makes the character a lot more usable in content, which I'm a big fan of. I'm going to be using this guy a lot, or at least I'm going to be trying to use this guy a lot. I think this character is cool as hell. I hope that his special animation is also very, very cool. But there is also something else that we need to talk about before we end the video, and that is his Pirate Rumble information. Now, I was saying this in my discussion video with Katakuri, that Katakuri needs some pretty significant Pirate Rumble upgrades, because prior to this, it was terrible. It was so bad, basically useless. But with some slight tweaks, they could make this character very, very powerful, and they've done just that. They've gone above and beyond what I thought they were going to do. This character is so much better. So here we go. We can see his sprite, which actually didn't really change all that much. First thing is first, he completely evades action bind, and he actually reduces damage from int by 40%. I was expecting it to be like a free spirit or cerebral, but they decided to go with int. But that's great. That's a really good resistance effect. But let's have a look at the Rumble ability. So fighter slasher shooter driven powerhouse get level 7 attack, and then he gives fighter class teammates HP level 7 and speed level 7. So you just gotta think, right? He gives a lot of those characters, you know, a really good attack buff, but then he's at least giving himself level 7 health and level 7 speed. He's basically a self-sufficient character. He's very bulky, he hits hard, and he's going to have a really nice speed increase. And now, like, fighter characters in particular, probably not going to synergize that well, but this guy's just going to be one of those units you can throw in a team, and that passive is going to help a lot of your characters out, and he himself is going to be somewhat self-sufficient, right? And, you know, you could use him on a side team. There's a couple of good slashes on there, so, you know, you could potentially use this. But the real big change that I think is actually kind of significant is his special ability, because what they've done is that they actually maintained his 25 CT, which I was really thankful for. But you'll have a look at this special though. Large range, 2.9 times his attack. Now with level limit break plus, he's going to have absurd stats. He's going to hit so hard. And then he also gives himself 40% HP heal. This is so good. The fact that he does so much damage and he has self-sufficient healing. This guy's going to be kind of nuts. I really cannot wait to try and utilize this guy in content in PvP, because I think he's going to be super good. It's just about figuring out what kind of teams you can kind of use him with, and I think that's probably going to be his biggest downfall, is that there's probably not a lot of good characters that synergize well with him, at least right now. But I think that this guy, just in a vacuum, has some really good stats, and I think that, you know, when the right characters release or when the right team comes out for this guy, I think that this guy is going to be an absolute monster in Pirate Rumble, and it's really good to see because we haven't had many good Katakuris in Pirate Rumble. I guess when Rumble first came out, we had the super type Katakuri who was relatively good just because the inter-defense team was pretty good, but you know, now we're seeing a really heavy offensively focused Katakuri. I think he's super good. I really want to try this guy out. But that's the rundown of Katakuri. I think that they've done some pretty decent stuff. I'm still not the biggest fan of the captain ability itself. I'm still going to definitely try and use him in content because it's my man Mr. Slam Jam. But let me know your thoughts and opinions on him down below in the comment section. Are you guys satisfied with Katakuri? And also, let us know, what do you think is going to be the next Super Evolution to arrive on One Piece Treasure Cruise? I think it's a pretty safe assumption to say maybe V2 Shanks could be potentially receiving his Super Evolution. We'll have to wait and see, but I'm very pumped to go ahead and give this guy a shot. He looks so freaking awesome. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed the video today, and if you guys did, make sure to go ahead and leave a like, and if you want to stay up to date with all the content that I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. But on that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.